I think shape grammars are used as a design tool, which, I mean, it's quite straightforward. You know, everything's been explained exactly that way to us. But it's basically just a design strategy where we apply all the rules that we do know and allow the computer to figure out all the variations and all the possibilities for us, because, you know, sometimes it's just, you know, it's too mind-boggling, especially if the rule sets become really complicated. So I think shape grammars are just a way of helping us reach that, you know, find out all those possibilities. I first approached the project brief by looking at what I'd learned from the program initially, which was kind of all those hexagon shapes, and from that I sort of decided that I could create shapes, you know, basic shapes, and then just sort of run around with it to create my facade designs. But the only problem that I did run into was that facade designs aren't really, you know, you can't really have an infinitely sized facade. So I couldn't really just let the facade run away with itself, which meant that I sort of had to restrict it. And so the steps I took in order to restrict it was to have these sort of, I guess, these, you know, defined branches of where the design could go, and, you know, sort of cut it off there, because otherwise it would just go on and become too crazy. In terms of rules driven design, I think that one of the things that stuck out for me mostly was the term semantic noise, which was it was used in the classical and non-classical computation by T. Knight and G. Steiny, where they talk about the way that communication sometimes has this bit of noise, you know, where there's kind of not, it's not a very clear message, sort of, maybe, I guess, referring to you know, a bad radio signal or whatever, where there's you know, not a very clear message. And I think referring back to my philosophy, my design philosophy, I think this thing has always really stuck out for me, because I think that there's always little flaws in communication. There's always little flaws in design, and those are all, you know, semantic noise, as the authors talk about it. And I think with rules driven design, we have that as well. There's a lot of little, I guess, hitches that we come into, where, you know, we may not be communicating precisely what we mean, and so our rules driven design sort of doesn't come out exactly the way we originally planned or thought it would. And I guess, I mean, that's a good and a bad thing, 'cause sometimes we'd want to come out with something and we don't come out with it, but more often than not we come out with something that's a lot more interesting than what we originally intended it to be. And I guess that's one of the main things about rules driven design as well, is that we can apply these rules, we can think that something might come up, but we'll come out with something completely different, and we can be completely surprised by what we've come up with.